full of bots here.
Hey, Bridget. Hello.
Hello. So I can see a lot of you have already done this. If you haven't yet, rename yourself and put the market that you cover by your name. And then we're going to give people a minute or two to come in. And I am going to get some co-hosts going.
Bridget, how long is this call expected to last?
Probably an hour of solid information and then maybe some Q&A or workshop. Um, I blocked off 2 hours so that I wouldn't have a hard stop for a coaching call if we were in the middle of discussing something. And it will be recorded. So even if any of you need to step out, this will be recorded. And I was going to talk to Aaron and Ruby about we can post the entirety video, and then otherwise we will chunk it out into different segments and then make a playlist on YouTube. So that way, if you really wanted to just go back and hone in on a particular element, you'll be able to do that. Okay, so we've got a decent group here. I've got both of you co-hosts or co-hosted, right? The other day, I went through an entire group call and I thought I had made them co-host and hadn't. And I was like, oh, I hope I didn't miss anything in the chat or mess that up. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the foundation of talking about building an incredible business plan for 2025. And what we're going to cover today is really it's the key foundations um, that you can go over and you can use when you're doing any business planning. So, how many of you in here are going to go to like a day-long business planning event at your market center? Anyone doing that? Anyone have
Mhm.
Gene Rivers coming to your region or someone's coming into town to do a whole day event? So, even if you're doing that, if you do this first before you go to that event, you're going to get much more out of the event. Okay. So, we're going to jump straight in and cover as much as possible today that things that are not just my opinion are the most important, but backed by big data and backed by uh, science. We're going to trust the science there. How's that? We haven't used that phrase in a while. Is going to help you have a strong year. First and foremost, um, as Gary has been saying a lot recently, the path is in the math. And I know that that's a little catchphrase to say, but it's really true. And so today we're going to cover a lot of numbers, and we're going to cover numbers that are not always discussed in all of the regular business plannings. I'm a regionally certified trainer with KW, and I've done the MREA business planning, events. They're phenomenal, some of the best in the industry. And yet, I'm going to give you a few tweaks to make so that you will make sure that your plan is set up for success and not for you to miss your goal by 15%. So we are going to go over a lot of math, a lot of numbers, and formulas that may not be discussed in a regular business planning environment. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is mindset. So we're going to go really heavy into mindset. How many people here are fans of Diana Kokoska or have seen Diana Kokoska? Anyone here know who Diana is? And let's get the chat going too. Yes, if you know Diana. If you don't know Diana, she's been named as one of the top 10 most influential people in our industry multiple times. She has written multiple books. She was the creator of Bold, and she actually was the founding co-creator of Maps. So she's highly influential in real estate overall. Aaron, can we hide that just till I'm done just with the little intro? Is that okay? And then, by the way, is there any way to like hide all the people that are not on camera? Because I don't like looking. I like seeing the faces. I like seeing the humans' faces. Everyone give me a smile. Faces are cool. All right. So Diana is did retire from being the head of Maps. However, she's still very active with she's very active with John Maxwell. She wrote another book that was released about a year and a half ago. And she's very intensely studying and researching the impact of mindset and our brains. So up until now, many of you have heard from different people like Tony Robbins or Mike Ferry or Gary, um, Diana, even people outside of real estate, that mindset is critical. And usually you'll see anywhere from mindset is 70% of your results. Others will say that it's 90%. The recent studies on results, success, and how our brains work, it's even more than 90%. So in Diana's last high event that she did, she went over that it's really more than 90%. I believe she said it was 93% of your success. So we are going to spend some time today on mindset. The other reason I wanted to talk about that is who would agree that the last 4 years have been interesting, dynamic, unique, fill in the blank with whatever words that you would want to call it, but it's been interesting. A lot of us pretty much, I'm not trying to sound dramatic, but we all had the rug yanked out from underneath us as a society as a world when COVID hit. So that was new for all of us. And then looking around at the different markets that we're all in, all of the markets have had things that have occurred in their area that may not have occurred in the rest of the country. And then just real estate was like a roller coaster. During COVID, first we didn't know what was going to happen. Then we had the best years of our careers. Then it fell off a cliff. Then interest rates went through the roof. So it's just been interesting. Why do I bring that up and stress that? Um, Even those of us that are pretty fanatical about mindset work, and I'm including myself, I'm pretty fanatical about that. We all sort of got out of our routines. When we got out of our routines of regular life, I think it impacted all of our daily routines. And so I just want to challenge all of you starting now that you're going to reclaim mindset work at a very high level, that you're going to make that A game level. So we're going to talk about that today. I would encourage all of you that you're going to wake in the morning and you're just going to have an intense, incredible, physically engaged, verbal mindset and affirmations to start every day. So we'll go into that. So today is going to be really about mindset and math. So any quick questions before we begin? Aaron, you can go ahead and share, or Ruby, whoever's doing the sharing, go ahead and share, and we're going to jump in. All right, so we kind of went over that. We're going to add safeguards for achieving your goals in 2025. We're going to challenge any limiting beliefs that are holding you back from growth. I want to make sure that, if you have any limiting beliefs about your market, the your local area or 2025, let's make sure that we get them out and verbalize them today so that we can address them and just whack-a-mole the limiting beliefs. An introduction to models and techniques that will help you grow faster, and then examine the possibilities and explore how to shift with the changing market. All right, so this is where we're going to start getting into, and many of you that have coached with me for years, you're going to know what I'm going to say. So many of you, when you go to a regular style business planning, you're going to take your goals and your activities and you're going to divide them by 12 because you think, oh, there's 12 months in the year. What is the fatal flaw with dividing by 12?
They will not close this year.
They won't close. That's right. And your activities will all be just slightly below what's required for you to actually achieve your goal. You are giving yourself more time than actually exists. And by the way, great news for those of you in New York or Chicago. You guys have a longer offer made to under contract, and you have a longer contract to close. I actually recommend for my clients in New York City in particular that you do a 9-month year, just because of the challenges that you face in your states. The majority of you in here, from what I know, though, you have a fairly regular, 90-day sales cycle. Most of you have contract to close somewhere between 30 and 40 days. Obviously, there's variances based on a case by case basis, but you want to factor in a 10-month year. So let's also look at this from a different perspective. You're not going to work every day and you're not going to work every week. If you are, and I'm coaching you, we're going to have a hardcore conversation. There's a couple of you in here where part of what we've worked on is me shoving you out to go on vacation or take some trips. So I know more than one of you in here, we've had that conversation. So you're not going to work every week. And then you're also humans. Anyone have something happen in their family or personal life this year that distracted them for work at any time? So you're going to have some weeks that are more effective than others. Um, so make sure that you're factoring in, on average, 46 weeks. If you really want to make absolutely sure that every work week is strong, I'd factor in 45. If you do look at average Americans, particularly in corporate America, they will typically work somewhere around 45, 46 weeks. So start thinking about yourself as an executive, and you would naturally fit in with doing that. Um, if you are someone who travels a lot, which again, I can point at myself, you are going to want to make sure that you pay attention to this. I would encourage you, if you know that next year is the year you're taking 3.5 weeks in South America, or you're going to be completely off grid in Nepal for a month, make sure that you just subtract that month out of your calculations, because then when you're working, you're doing enough work that you will still achieve the goal. So just before we go off this slide, I highly recommend that you plan out your entire year now. How many of you have ever done the calendar exercise where you print out a blank calendar for each month of the year? You reserve one of the conference rooms in the office. You put all of them out, and then you start with God, family, and your own self first, and you put all of that down. You then would put any vacations that you know about, weddings, baptisms, or things that around holidays that you do on an annual basis. Mark them off. Training events that you have no control over, like family reunion, luxury symposium, mega camp. We know the dates in advance. Mark them off. So you literally put God, family, business, caring for yourself, travel, vacation, training and meetings you cannot control. If you're in a networking like BNI, or um, uh, you do regular volunteering and you do not control, like or Rotary, put all that on there. So if you mark off all of that, guess what pops off the page to you? If you take like markers and you have color codes and you mark off when you're going to be off for all of those things, then what will show up very clearly to you?
The weeks that we're working.
That's right. Then you'll know exactly when you're going to work. And then you can count how many weeks you're working, count how many half weeks you're working, or you can even just count the days. Because then when you go to your business planning and you know exactly how many days you plan on working, boom, you're going to have the most clarity in your numbers to make sure you achieve your goal. Any of you that have teams, please do that soon as a team event and tell them to bring in everything, school calendars, all of that, so that you guys will know and you can prepare to make sure that you're not going to have a weekend where everyone is off. And if that is going to happen, that you can prepare for that. All right, we can go to the next one. So this is just reinforcing. So you're going to know how many weeks you're going to work, how many days total are you going to work. And then the getting into other math, really have clarity around how many homes you're going to sell. I don't necessarily care how you phrase that. Some people like to say families they're going to assist, or homes they're going to sell, properties, call it what you'd like. My point with that is we know that the majority of proven formulas relating to real estate, the strongest indicator for predictability and being able to project is units. So I already know, does anyone want to raise an objection at this point? Usually there's an objection now. Oh, Betty Lou Bick from Coldwell Banker. Thank you. Yes, I see you raised your hand. But Bridget, I love gross sales volume. That's what gets me excited. I don't care about units. That sounds sterile. That doesn't get me excited. Oh, Betty Lou, I'm so glad you brought that up. Well, then, great. Figure out your average sales price. But my average sales price varies. I sell things from 8 million all the way to 327. That doesn't matter. You can still have an average. So take out the highest and take out the lowest, and then calculate your average and divide it into your gross sales volume that gets you excited every day and know your units. How many of you sell in markets where it's possible that you will sell a $20 million listing? I know your markets, raise your hands. Okay. So that is the downfall. If you try to create a business plan around a sales volume, your little subconscious voice is going to be like, yeah, but you could just do that in one house and take the rest of the year off. Bleh. It's not going to be a solid business plan. That is the approach and the mindset of a hobbyist versus a business owner who owns a multi-million dollar sales corporation that specializes in real estate. And that's how I see every single one of you. Okay. So make sure that you are honing in on units. If anyone has questions about that, we can talk about that during the Q&A. I know I do. That is an area where I get a lot of pushback. So if you have questions about that, stay on after and we can go over it in more detail. How many leads are needed for the goal? Aaron, we've got a detailed slide on that, right?
We do.
Okay, good. And then how many appointments to agency signed to sold? Okay, so essentially make 2025 the year that you start off tracking on a weekly, daily basis so you actually can know your true conversion rates. And make it part of, gamify it. Make it like I'm going to crush it and I'm going to see if I can just improve. If I go on 10 listing appointments and I'm currently getting 4, what do I have to do to go on 10 listing appointments and take 7? Okay, so like just start embracing and loving conversion rates, numbers, and data.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Hi, so as we're coming up with these numbers, how do we, as if we're rainmakers, factor in our goals versus our team members' goals? And then should we add them up or should we take the big picture, see who is going to contribute to what and see what's left?
I am going to, if that's all right with everyone, I'm going to answer that now. Because even if you don't have a team, you are already thinking about who are going to be your key referral partners. So for the next minute, if you don't have agents on your, think about what I'm saying in terms of key vendors that give you referrals and your key referral partners. So Amber, what I would recommend if you really want to have growth in 2025, and you're one of my clients where in my mind, 2025 is when Cruise Real Estate Group is going to gross over 2 million. So that's a growth year, right? What I would do is calculate all the numbers to achieve the goal. And then you're going to figure out how much of that will be the listing division and the buyer division. And then you're going to really figure out, as a rainmaker, how many buyers will you agree to work with that year? Because all of you, if you're a rainmaker, you've got to be focused on listings. I don't like to use language that strong, but that is just the reality of life. So figure out how much of the business is going to be your business that you're controlling in the listing division. Find out how many units would come from the buyer division. Look at your current agents, listen to their stated goal, and then you and I can do an analysis and we can figure what is an expected outcome and then see what the gap is. That's how you figure out how to hire. So that's how you decide, like, well, I have a gap of 24 sales based on my market and the average number of homes that an average agent sells every year. how many more agents do I need on my team? So if you're in that growth mode with a team, that's one of the ways that you approach it. As I mentioned, if you're a solo agent with referral partners, I'm looking at who's in the room. A lot of you get business from attorneys of various types. You also get business from vendors, and many of you are in networking groups. So if you look at this in the same way and project out of my attorneys, what have I currently received in terms of leads? Figure out how many you converted from the leads you were given, and then do the math in reverse. And if you know that your current group of attorneys will not meet that number of leads, you know how many attorneys you need to add to your group. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
But that's how I would recommend doing it. At the same time, you're also fostering the current relationships you have. And then we're also looking at what you're providing in terms of sales training, stimulation, conversion leads, skill development, all of that. So it's not that we can't lift up who we already have, but we don't want to rely on that entirely. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next one. So we'll go over this real quick, and then I want to go, Aaron, I want to go to the leads identified after this. So really think about a couple things that we've gotten away from in our industry over the last, really like since the recession. Prior to the recession, agents previewed properties a lot. Many markets had broker caravan. You would go out and see the new inventory or price reductions after the fact. How many of you still have broker preview or broker caravan in your markets? Okay, so not everyone has them anymore, but previewing properties. So think for yourself, especially if you're in growth mode. And I don't care if you're a listing agent. One of the strongest things to do as a listing agent is to preview the comps before you go on a listing appointment. When you're in that listing appointment and you're having an interactive CMA presentation and you ask them, hey, Cindy, did you go into that home? Have you ever been in it? And they say no. And you say, I stopped in the other day and let me share this. When you've got that first hand eyes, smell, feeling of the atmosphere of that property, rather than relying on the glamour shots that are online, your conversion rate's going to go up. So I would say anyone who is new to their market, meaning you've lived there 3 years or less, if you are 5 years or less in real estate and you're selling less than 50 homes, I think you should be previewing at least 5 homes a week. We can get into that more. Is there anyone here that anyone want to do a counterpoint and say, I think previewing homes is a waste of time. You can see everything you need online. I'm open to it. Believe me, coaches, we're nerds. We argue point, counterpoint this stuff all the time. Anyone feel like previewing is not worthwhile? Cindy, you think it's not worthwhile?
I don't love it because it feels like a time suck, honestly. I mean, I do get a good feeling for a home. I mean, they are glamour shots that made me laugh, but I mean, I feel like I get a good interpretation of the layout and kind of the home from the pictures.
Mhm.
There's your counterpoint.
Okay. When we look at agents in the business under 2 years, agents that preview properties have a longer length of time in the industry and higher production. So one of the things that we talked about at Mega Camp is we talked about this in luxury. We are encouraging everyone, we meaning like Brady, Caroline, Lisa, those of us that are kind of involved with Luxury Pro or just luxury in general, for people to get out from behind the computer. We've got to get in front of people again and properties again. When you preview properties, and even if you just take a selfie of yourself outside of the property from the street with the home behind, over your shoulder, whether you use it anywhere or not, you're reinforcing in your mind, this is what I sell, these are my clients, and I stay on top of this inventory. So the other last thought on it real quick. Hold on one second, Amber. If I take this cup and I fill it with coffee, if I knock it over, coffee comes out. So if you're previewing incredible luxury properties or just properties at all, every week, when you bump into someone and they ask about the market, guess what comes out? Well, I was in a property the other day on Primrose. So you're filling your subconscious in a more physical way when you actually see the property. And you brought up a good counterpoint. Amber?
Just to add to it, I went on a luxury listing appointment and the neighbor in the back of the cul-de-sac was on the market for 2 years. And I previewed it before I met with them, and it was very helpful because when people come to see our listing, they're also going to the one in the back, right? So you want to see with fresh eyes, what are the buyers seeing? Or why is this one better or worse? Or like you said, if it smells weird because they have 10 dogs,
Right.
you would never
Yeah.
know that. So I definitely find value, especially before you go on a listing appointment, to take a look around. It's not a waste of time. And then you're like, oh, you saw the neighbor's house? How'd you get in there? Right.
That's
And then
right.
it's more
It
likely that you're
creates different conversations with other agents. It impacts agent karma as well. And it could be good or bad. But anyway, just reconsider that for this year. I would say anyone who's on this call where your listings taken and overall units are not where you want them to be, I would consider previewing 5 homes a week for the rest of the year. Don't do it Thanksgiving week, skip the last 2 weeks of the year. But like just to see, is that an element that would activate your RAS and your subconscious to have different conversations about what's going on in the market? How many face-to-face meetings with MVPs? So it's interesting. In reviewing Kareen, I think that you're here. We were doing a deep dive on her GPS. She has a full court press for the remainder of the year. And we really dug in on that. And after our conversation, she had a strong GPS with smart targets that you could measure and frequency and all of that. But we decided the thing that was lacking, that the face-to-face meetings with MVPs were not quite as high as they needed to be, as quickly as they needed to be. Side note, anyone in here that wants to have an impact on 2024, and you're not in New York, increase the number of face-to-face meetings that you're having with past clients, referral partners, vendors. Maybe set it up where you've got one lunch, 2 coffees a week, and every other week you're taking an MVP to dinner. If you did that between now and Veterans Day, who thinks that you may uncover some additional business that may happen before the end of the year? Right, so just consider that. I know that Linda Lee is traveling, so she could not be with us today. Many of you know that in April, after a rocky start to the year, she ended up having a gross closed income in April of $371,000. And we directly attribute it to when she got back from family reunion, she literally had 5 in-person meetings, either dinners or lunches every day. She just was like, she just started seeing everyone the entire month of March. So just consider, if you want to do a full court press between now and Veterans Day in most of your markets, if you get face-to-face with VIPs and talk about your goals and dreams, you may uncover some business that could happen right now. Okay. And the benchmarks that tell you that you're done. Our industry is very free-flowing. How many of you, like, I'll include myself, how many of you like lost track of what day it was because you fell into spring market and you're working every day? Some of you still have kids in school. I can tell you, someone in this Zoom room got up on a Saturday and thought it was a school day and got her kids up and got them ready to go to school. And it wasn't until we were about to, like leave the house where my oldest son was like, it's Saturday, right? He thought I was getting them ready to like go run errands or something. So how do you know that you're done? We're going to talk about a couple methods for that. When we talk about leads identified and number of appointments. So if you have these things, if you know that you need to identify 14 side leads every week, you know that you're going to have 2 coffees and a lunch every week, and you're going to preview 5 properties a week. on Friday, when you double check that to see, did you do it all? You know that you're done, and you can have more of a flow of that was a complete week. Julia, I think you had your hand up.
No, you asked for show of hands, so I showed.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's, yeah, so you've done that too, where you're not sure what day it is. All right. Let's go to the next. All right. So the power of 15. Let's go ahead and talk about the 15s, Aaron. Okay. So 15s, 15%. We're going to do the 15s first. So there's a couple of 15s that can have a huge impact on your business. How many of you, again, some of you actually, your big selling season is during the winter. So when I look at Bonnie from Maui and Anthony in San Diego, a few of you in Florida, wintertime is actually your season. So you're coming up on this and you already know that you're going to be hitting the ground hard and doing a full court press. If you're in a more traditional type of resale market, what is the conventional wisdom about fourth quarter and end of the year and activities of agents?
People take it easy because they're preparing for the holidays.
Yeah, a lot of people, if you just, interviewed people on the street even, they would think, well, most agents don't work during the holidays. And, oh, there's some jokes out there that for realtors, the holidays begins at Halloween and ends at Martin Luther King Day. So if you work really hard and you're present during the fourth quarter, because actually, if you look at data, fourth quarter is really strong in most markets. So the power of 15, the 15% rule for January 1st. You take your unit goal for 2025, multiply it by 0.15. Your goal is on January 1st after the ball drops and you kiss whoever's next to you. You want it to have 15% of your unit goal already pending. So if you're going to sell 100 homes, January 1, you want to have 15 pendings that are already on the books. If you don't have 15 pendings, you want to make sure that your active residential resale listings plus your pendings equals 15. Do not include commercial or new construction or to be built or raw land or any of that stuff. They're great listings. We want them, but you're not going to include them. That's not a part of this formula. Those of you that do more commercial, on your coaching call, we will do the formula for you and what that is for you to shoot for. But think about it for a minute. If it's the beginning of December and you're starting to get distracted and you're like, oh, I can lollygag. I worked really hard because I did the November challenge. If you know that you're shooting for that 15% on January 1st, is that going to keep you focused and working when you're at work? Is that going to keep you looking for the next? Instead of doing what a lot of agents do is they do the slow wind down. Well, it's almost the end of the year, so I don't want to bother people. I'm not in the mood to make calls this morning. Right? All that nonsense, cut it out. Get very intentional about that 15% on January 1st. Discuss it with your team. If you've got a team, you get all of them excited and on board about it. Have visual trackers in front of you. Get that in front of you and strive to hit it. Okay. So that's 115. The other who knows what the other 15 is? The other power of 15. The 15th protocol. 15th protocol. Okay, yeah. So the 15th protocol is every single month you set a calendar reminder for the 15th of the month, and whatever your lead indicator activities are, you should already be at the halfway point. So if you know that you need to go on 8 listing appointments to achieve your goal, and you've only been on 3, then automatically the 15th protocol is set in motion. And you've got a set of predetermined lead generation activities that will take place for the rest of that month. And I typically recommend that it is lead indicators. So lead indicators are appointments set, appointments held, listing agency signed, buyer agency signed. Those are lead indicators. Lag indicators would be pendings and closings. So if we want to keep making sure that we're filling that pipeline and that we're staying ahead of the curve, that we want to focus the 15th protocol on the lead indicators. A rainmaker, it should not be your job. This is something that you want an administrator to do. If you're a solo agent with a virtual, it should be the virtual assistant's job. They should be looking how many listing appointments have we had, how many offers were written, how many leads have been identified. If any of those are not at the halfway point for the month, boom, you know automatically what you're going to do. Is there anyone on the call that is actively doing a 15th protocol? I have a couple of teams where they know. Oh, Amber, yes. Can you share your 15th protocol? So what are the activities that take place in the event the team is not at the halfway point on the 15th?
So we have been coming together. We will block off the training room. And we will spend all day, as many hours as possible. I'll order breakfast, lunch. I'll bring some tea, coffee. I will even bring some Prosecco towards the end if we need it. And we make it a challenge. I give a cash prize to whoever sets the most appointments. Last time it was like $200 for whoever sets the most. And we separate in that big space so we're not on top of each other. We have our board with dollar signs to mark.
Yep.
Make our appointments, and at the end we tally it up. It's healthy, friendly competition. And then,
Yep.
as each person goes up to the board, you're like, you're up there, I'm going to get
Right.
up there, I'm going to make my next mark. So it's been a fun way to spend time together, bounce ideas off each other. Oh, I like the way you said this, or, work on different scripts and just be amongst each other. So it was a massive impact, and it was a nice full day.
Yeah. And so it's really, what you want to do is something like that. So Amber is doing a power day in the event that they're not hitting their numbers. So now if it's the 15th, instead of everyone having to say, well, what are we going to do? We're not halfway towards the goal. Should we do more open house? It's already decided. There's no conversation. Cruise knows they are doing a power prospecting day. They're doing a marathon day focused on lead generation and lead follow-up with a focus on setting appointments if they're not at that halfway point. So a couple of other examples. And by the way, if you are a solo agent, you still do the same thing. So you do it yourself. And if you are not at your halfway point, you say, great. That means the rest of this month, every Tuesday from 4:30 to 6, I'm making calls. And every Saturday morning, I'm going to go to estate sales and yard sales until I've given out 15 cards and had 15 conversations. So it takes the guessing and planning away. You just know exactly what you're going to do. So start thinking about that. This also adds structure to what is a very free-flowing, amorphous business. It adds that structure. So it's not weekly, but it gives you that monthly benchmark. Okay. And then if we go back to the 10 leads per goal, that'd be great. Okay. How many of you know the 10 leads to a closing? For a few of you, that really have been doing a good job tracking your leads identified. We've been doing reverse math. And there's a few coaching clients where I did the reverse math and I said, I think your leads identified actually is around 470 instead of the 810 that it's supposed to be. And we did the reverse math and it was nearly spot on. So their production is down, they're not hitting the goal. And when they look at leads identified, the path is in the math. So whatever your goal is, and by the way, I do coach some luxury agents where you're not looking to necessarily sell 100 homes. Maybe you want to sell 12. Well, great. So let's say you want to sell 12 homes. You multiply 12 times 10, it's 120. you already did your calendar exercise and you've got a huge bucket list trip planned for the following for 2025. So let's say that you're going to work 39 weeks. Well, you take 120, someone grab a calculator. Take 120 and divide that by 39. Someone have it for me?
3.0769.
3.07 something something. Okay. So you know that for you to hit your goal of 12 closings every week that you're working, you must identify 3 side leads. And this is big data backed by multiple groups. It's not just an internal Keller Williams number. Other organizations that track agent behavior and consumer behavior, this is a very solid number. It barely shifted during the recession. It did shift during the recession, but it was not as much as you would have expected. So again, if we look at and keep that calculator handy. So let's say somebody wants to sell 100 homes next year, or a team wants to sell 100 homes. We're going to do a solo agent first. And yes, I've had solo agents sell more than 100 homes in a year with staff. Take divide multiply that by 10, it's 1,000. With a we'll do solo agent first. Someone divide that by 45. What's the number?
22.
22. So if you're a solo agent and you want to sell 100 homes next year, your only job is to identify 22 side leads every week that you work. The source doesn't matter. The ability to perform doesn't matter. All that matters is they say, I want to buy or sell real estate in 2025. Anthony?
Yeah, this might be a dumb question, but what is a side lead?
So a side lead, I'm glad you asked that. So a side lead means, let's say that I'm in your database. Anthony, I'm part of your sphere and you call me once a quarter. So you call me for the November challenge and I'm like, oh my gosh, Anthony, guess what? Ethan's going to graduate high school next spring. I want to sell our 2-story in the school district. I'm going to buy a condo for him by the college because I don't want him in a dorm. And I want a single level by the lake. That is 3 side leads. So even though I'm one person, it's 3 deals. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So so that would be great news for someone like if your target is 3 for the week, boom, you just knocked it out with one person. Okay. So that's this number and the focus and structure you put around it, it can truly transform your business. So let's talk for a minute about a team with multiple agents selling that want to sell 100 homes. So if you've got a team with some staff and with multiple agents, there's almost always somebody working. So beauty, we get to divide 1,000 by 52. So what is that number? Where is my calculator, buddy?
1,000 divided by 52 is 19.2.
19.2. So that's the cool thing. When you do have more than one agent, that's one of the only times that you expand to 52. Okay. Now in a dream world, I personally, I would still shoot for the 22 because why not set yourself up for success? So, any other questions around this?
Can I make a quick comment? Or
Yes.
so Bridget and I have been doing this for the past let's see, for the past 5 weeks now. And these numbers are incredibly spot on. Like I've gotten 25 of these side leads, and I have two people that have BRBCs out right now and one person that's on the fence. So that's a half person.
That's
It's
right. Yeah.
and
Yeah, you're on the
when we
fence.
first started, I was like, Bridget, I don't think this is gonna work, but sure, I'll try it.
Yeah, it really does. And Anthony, you've been doing a great job of tracking your leads every week. So again, having that knowing when you are done for the week, when you have filled in a chart of your 3 leads or 5 leads or 19 leads identified per week, you get a feeling of like, it doesn't matter what else happened that week. You know that you did what you have to do to move your business forward. And so you have a real sense of completion when you metaphorically flip the light switch and lock the office at the end of the week. Okay. Now there is a whole system to this because one of the key things is you want to identify them and then you want to do a formal lead review where you literally look at every name of every lead you identified so far that year once a week. So when we get to the end of this, we can go into that into more detail. Keep. What other math do we have, Erin? We got the 15th protocol, dividing by 10, not 12. So I do want to talk, now we're going to combine. We talked about calendar exercise. We talked about 10, not 12. Plan to be at your goal with your closed and pendings by October 31st. If you're in New York, I would say the ideal would be that your closed and pending would equal your unit goal by about Columbus Day, like October 10th. If your closed and pending is your unit goal, like if you're shooting for 100 and you've got 78 closed and 22 pendings on Halloween, guess what? You're probably going to hit your goal. And because by doing it that early, has anyone on this call ever had a deal fall out? No, I'm the only one. Ever had a deal that was like rock solid and oops, the day before, buyer lost his job and who knows, craziness happens. They forfeit their earnest money. Oops. And that was a domino deal where that seller was buying another property. And I can't be the only one that's had that happen. So when you factor to be at your goal of your closed and pending equaling your unit goal by October 31st, if something falls out, guess what you have time to do?
Replace it.
Yes, you can replace it. You've got time to make the listing active and get it under contract. You have time for the buyer to find another property and still close before the end of the year. Okay. You do want to divide and conquer, as we talked about, really get clear about how many weeks you're going to work in the whole year. And then thinking about what we just talked about, also factor in what you need to achieve by October 31st to hit that goal, and use the actual number of weeks you're going to work or the number of days you're going to work for all of your calculations. Do not fall in the trap of 12 months and 52 weeks and, oh, I've got so much time and, oh, I don't need to do it this week. I can do it next week. No, you gotta be real. And then, like I said, factor in life. And make sure that you're going to be able to celebrate holidays in the manner you desire, that you're going to have vacations and you'll have a life outside of work. Okay. So setting your GPS, and we are going to do a GPS session. If you a GPS, just to give a quick refresh, it's also called a 135. It's where you have one goal for the whole year. You identify 3 priorities that you believe will cause you to achieve or exceed the goal. And then you have 5 strategies in each priority that will make that real. So Gary was going over a GPS refresh with the MAPS coaches. And he said, one of the things you guys are forgetting. Well, there were two things he said we were forgetting. In a dream scenario, we're going to use 100. I know not all of you are shooting for 100, but it's an easy number. So let's say your one goal is 100 homes sold in 2025. And the three priorities to reach the goal are working the database with a 52 touch campaign, a BNI group and local business owners, and social media hyperlocal presence. Okay, so you've got three priorities. So what a lot of us will do naturally is we'll say, well, 34% will come from A, 33% will come from B, and 33 from C. Or 50 will come from A, 30 will come from B, and 20 from C. And Gary Keller, in his regular manner, said, y'all got to stop that. Y'all got to stop that. He said, every single priority has to be strong enough that by itself it would achieve the goal. So when you're working on priority number one, you create priority number one where the smart strategies are enough that that one category will sell 100 houses. And then you go to number two, and those have to be enough to sell 100 houses. And the same for number three. So we all promised him in the chat, because we did a Zoom mastermind last Friday with him, that when we were working on the business plans with our MAPS clients and we were creating a GPS, that we would make dang sure that each priority would be enough on its own that you would achieve your goal. And then the other thing that he said that we needed to guarantee is that any strategy that privilege of being included as one of the 5 strategies, you've got to black hat that. We're going to black hat every strategy, meaning I'm going to poke holes in it. I am going to say, do you really believe that that activity is going to contribute to listing appointments so that you can achieve your goal? Because if we just look at it just from the positive standpoint, if we're just going like, oh yeah, I'll do more open houses, I'm going to do 8 open houses a month, is that going to lead to the desired outcome? We're going to look at it with a critical eye to make sure that it's not just something that you like to do that feels good or sounds good. We're going to make sure that it has a high likelihood of actually producing the result that we want to see. Does that sound everyone on board with that? Okay. All right. So, and then of course, you want a time block to review it every month, because too often, and I do this, you'll look at it for a few weeks, then you clean your desk off and it goes in a drawer, or it's in your file and you don't hit that tab and you don't look at it. So we want to look at it every month. And many of you have gone back to using 411s. I know Araceli, I think you're on here. Gary is really fastidious. Gary Nix in Los Angeles, Beach Cities. Every week before his coaching call, I get his 411. And usually it's chicken scratch that he scans to me, but he's got his 411. And he has told me, he said, if I show up to a call and that you don't have that 411 in your email, I want you to Gary Keller that thing, and you're gonna require that it's sent, or we're not gonna have a coaching call. So think about that for yourself. I will say, you guys know my directness is part of my charm. In my experience, there are some agents where the 411 does like what it's doing for Gary, where he just had a record-setting month and he's having a strong year, in a competitive market. Beach Cities is very competitive. But there are some agents where the 411 is not the exact right fit. It doesn't quite engage their subconscious in the way that it's designed to. So if you feel that that is the case for you, like if you tried using them in the past and they didn't give you that oomph that you were looking for, let me know, because there is 12-week year. I've got a digital 12-week year tracker. Maybe that clicks with your brain in a better way. There's other things we can do, but let's look at adding in some accountability and some additional measures so that we're not allowing gaps to develop. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit the next one. Any questions before I leave that? Okay. So your toolkit. I gotta tell you, I know that for my own self, I actually have really leaned in. I know my own coach was doing some additional calls that I wasn't going to. And partly I was doing that because the time changed and I already had a client there. I want you guys to know I decided I'm going to let that client know they have to move their call time. I am leaning in on what my own coach is doing to make sure that I take full advantage of that. I also still have my finance coach and I'm continuing to lean in there. So what's my point with that? It's not, ooh, look at me. Boo. It's not that. It doesn't matter where you are in this profession. It doesn't matter that I'm coming up on, is it 26 years in real estate? All of us, regardless of where we are, we all benefit from having a coach. If you look at the absolute best golfers that are Tiger Woods level, do they all have coaches? More than one. The best athletes in the world, the NFL teams, do they all have coaches?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And usually, again, more than one. Now, I'm not saying you need more than one, but I'm just saying, like, really start thinking it through. When you look at people that are elite professionals, they usually are not going it alone. Now, by the way, you all could sit here and say, like, Bridget, by the way, we're already coaching with you. The reason, like, you don't need to sell us on coaching. What I'm selling you on is lean into it. I'm very good, I believe, about sharing with you the extra things I do that would benefit you or the ones that you don't really need. So if you're able to engage at a higher level, do it. When I say things to you like, hey, Nancy, connect with Irene, actually do it. Because if I'm suggesting something like that, there's a reason behind it that is, you don't know what's going to come from it. So I would just say lean in on it. Professional photography, whenever I leave that out, it always bites me in the butt, and because I internet stalk all your listings. All of you guys know how quickly can I pull your listings up, and then even today there was one that wasn't showing up on Zillow. So I got on the coaching call and I was like, I'm concerned about your listing on blankety blank road because it's not connected to your Zillow. Not that I like Zillow, but if you're going to get exposure, I want you getting all the exposure. So just make sure that you're using professional photographers for everything that are using a timer. How many of you are using a timer and a stopwatch? So you use a stopwatch to get a baseline of how long things take you to do. And then you use a timer after you've got a baseline so that you can challenge yourself to increase your efficiency. If you're not doing that, do some research on the Pomodoro effect and make 2025 a year that you decide you're going to play around with it and you're going to use a timer. Having a 36 touch plan is a bare minimum. We do know from data that 42 touches per year are bringing about at least a 6% return on any group of people. I have many clients that have just decided they're just doing 52 touches because they figure why not have something that's going to happen every week of the year. They're doing with your touch campaigns, make sure it's broad. You want to be multi-pronged. So we do know face-to-face, voice-to-voice, absolutely critical. And the big data still shows Anyone in Gary's top 100, you know this because he talked about it at Mega Camp. He also talked about it on not this past mastermind, but the one prior. Big data is still showing 4 voice to voice or face to face per year, and 4 pieces of snail mail a year is the bare minimum to get a 6% return off of any randomized group of Americans. Okay, so in our society, and Canada. I don't think I have any Canadians on here today, but Canada as well. North America, that's what's happening. But make sure you've got that touch campaign, and make sure you're not overestimating any one area. If you came to me and said, I have a 42 touch campaign, 32 of the touches are email, I'm going to say you have a delusion and a fantasy land, because that's not going to be enough. It's same with social media. Now, some of you on here are social media rock stars. However, you never know exactly who's going to see it or who's going to engage. So it cannot be one phone call a year and everything else is social media. You want a balanced diet, and you need different types of touches so you have a higher probability of more people seeing what you're putting out there. An auto dialer. Now, I've had people say, Bridget, I have built my business to the point where it's all database, Mets, and people that I know. Even if it's predominantly people you know, when you have a dialer that has single line capability and it's November and January and you're doing the November challenge, you actually can track and make sure that you've done 3 dials to each number. You have a record of who you spoke to. And when you use single line, it's just like you calling. So there's no difference in the experience to the consumer. Am I saying that if your business is down right now, should you run out tomorrow and get an auto dialer? No, that's not what I'm saying. However, I think we should discuss it, and we should set some benchmarks, analyze your business, and see if it's something that you could or would use, and then make a plan for it. Good CRM. A lot of you now are using Command. Quick little thumbs up, thumbs down, pop in the chat. Seems as if Command has turned a bit of a corner. Are most of you feeling fairly satisfied with Command at the moment? Getting some thumbs up. But you want to not only have it and use it, but you want to be in it every day. So another client that I am going to leave nameless, but it's not just me. It's not Betty Lou Bick Bick. It's an actual client. They challenged themselves because they found they were getting lost in social media. So the challenge they did for themselves is they have to spend as much time in their CRM every day as they plan on spending in social media. And they found that over the course of about 4 months is when it finally became such a habit that they looked forward to it. And if they didn't get in their CRM every day, they felt like they were forgetting something. So it's not, it's a classic agent trap to spend time, effort, and energy to set up your CRM and your smart plans and your reminders. And I'm going to do a reminder for the reminder. And, you do all this stuff. And then you fall back into your regular habits. You never open your CRM. Every once in a while, you see you have 321 unfinished tasks, and that doesn't make you want to go into it. And then you don't go into it until you get the urge and I'm cleaning it up today and starting from scratch. So break that cycle. If that's a cycle you have, break the cycle. One of the ways to break it is to go into the CRM every day. Quick little technique on that. We're going back to the rule of 15. If you are notorious for not ever going into your CRM or only going in when you have to do a green sheet or whatever we call it now, CDA, whatever it is, when you want to get paid, so make a deal with yourself, rule of 15, that you're going to be in your CRM, actively paying attention to it and looking and diving into it for at least 15 minutes a day. And set a timer for 15 minutes and go in your CRM every workday, Monday through Friday, for 15 minutes. Okay. These next few we'll do pretty quickly. Time block schedule. Get into the time blocks. do it whichever way works best for you. If you are a tried and true paper person and you love doing it by paper, great. If you are a Google Calendar or an whatever iPhone calendar thing is, great. But same thing, create your time block schedule. I am a big fan of color coding. I think you should color code income producing activity as green and income maintaining um, activities as gold. Then have something for personal growth and development, something for family, but have different color codes in there. And one of the things I'm going to recommend, make sure there's flexible time in every day. I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but our career, our chosen career, it has a lot of last minute things and somewhat pressing or urgent things that happen. So if you have a little flex time built into the day, you're going to be able to handle those and not have everything get derailed. That being said, make your flex time after 11:30 in the morning. So make sure there's flexibility built in, but the more you own your morning and you are determined to own the morning and master that schedule, then you can have more flexibility in the afternoon. I haven't talked about this in a while, and I realized on a coaching call 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, I need to bring this up again. Use a regular alarm clock. I'm actually looking at mine right now. It's staring at me over there. It is I would encourage you to get away from using your phone as your alarm, and go back to having a regular alarm clock. Do not have snooze, and have your phone away from you when you're going to bed. If you have any sleep issue whatsoever, this can make a difference. It usually doesn't happen overnight. If you do some research on this, if you Google it, it's usually somewhere between 7 and 14 days where people notice a significant change in their quality of sleep, their depth of sleep, and waking up at night. If you're sensitive to it, having the phone beside you, these things have become so powerful that they're actually emitting energy when they're just beside you. So if you have sleep issues, put the phone outside the room and get a regular alarm clock. Now let me talk to those of you that are like, that's never going to happen. You're talking crazy talk. Even if you're going to use your phone as your alarm, all of the phones now, you can deactivate snooze. So go into your alarm setting and it says snooze on or off. You turn it off. I'm not going to go into great detail. This is something, if you're interested in it, you can do additional research. The sleep that you get after you hit the snooze button actually makes you feel worse. So when you hit snooze and you kind of go back to sleep for 12 minutes and then wake up, you will feel groggier, you will have more mental fog, and you will not feel as rested than if you just wake up when the first alarm goes off. I am not lying. This is not like weird coach talk. This is real. If you don't believe me, research it and bring me your questions. But the snooze button is a dream crusher. It is a dream killer. It will, it is, Anthony, thank you. He started this a few months ago and it's a game changer. It is, far as to say that it's poison. It is poison to your life and your dreams. So deactivate snooze. And if you have sleep issues, get a regular alarm clock and get the phone out of the room. Okay. And then fierce determination. This is a time where, and this is where we are going to talk a little bit more about mindset. This is not necessarily an easy market. Some of you are in markets that are quote unquote a little easier than others. Some of you are in markets that are chronically challenging. New York City. Oh, I'm sorry, something was stuck in my throat. But you're the one that decides every day when you get up. Is this another great day to be alive? Are you blessed and excited about another day above ground? Are you getting up and you're like, I'm going to crush it today. I'm the owner, founder, and rainmaker of a multi-million-dollar sales corporation, and we're going to have our best year ever. You have got to be on fire. You've got to start each day at zero. You have to act as if you have no business every day. You want to say, like today, I will find the name and address of my next clients. Yes, and nothing will stop me. You have got to get in this and notice, even just here, I was demonstrating for you, get your whole body into it. I've shared with many of you, when I wake up in the morning, the first thought in my mind is, another day above ground, let's hit it. Like I am so excited every day for another day above ground. And I live that and I breathe it, and it doesn't matter. Does that mean that my life's perfect and I'm, everything? No, no, big no. Could be one of the reasons why I'm single, since I do wake up kind of like Energizer Bunny out of bed. And I've had roommates, I've shared Airbnbs with some other coaches at events, and I get up and I'm putting on music and I'm doing it, and they're like, oh, good Lord. And they're the ones that said, we think we know why you're single. So anyway, but take that on for yourself. Like get into it. You guys are not, if you wake up and you have a lackluster start to your morning, there's a good chance you're going to have a limp, wet fish, average day. And then it's just like, eh. I mean, so it adds a heaviness. It's like waking up with a marine layer. My Southern California people, the marine layer. Oh, it's like, don't do it. And it is, I know I am not saying that I'm not saying that mental health issues are not real. I'm not saying that there are not times of grieving and seasons in life. I'm not saying that. But you choose every day if you're going to choose joy. You choose every day if you're going to choose energy. You choose every day if you're going to look at this as like, I am alive today. I'm not 6 feet under. Let's roll. More of that is a choice than we realize. And I'm just going to encourage all of you to take on that you're going to play this game at a high level, and you're actually going to inspire those around you by cultivating your own energy and perspective every day at such a level that you actually just make people smile naturally when you walk past them. Okay, just like you just take it on that you're going to be a role model in your office of graciousness, ease, and elegance while you're crushing it. And so many of you are already living that. Go ahead and take it and just turn it up to 11. All the Gen Xers in here, you got that joke. That is an age reference. Does everyone who doesn't know what I mean when I say turn it up to 11?
Me.
Who can put in the chat what movie that's from?
Spinal Tap.
Yep, Spinal Tap. Yes. These go to 11. One of the things that I'm going to do, which I used to do this pre-COVID, and I'm going to start doing this again. I'm going to send out a song of the week. I am picking out a song of the week, and Sunday nights I'm sending it out to you. What I'm going to encourage all of you to do, and yes, I'm going to cover all genres. So if you love country and I send you a rock song, just listen to it. It's not going to kill you, and vice versa, okay? Because I'll cover genres. But I'm going to send a song out every week that I believe will give you energy in that week, and I'm going to encourage you to listen to it every day. And then I'm also going to send out, similar to these go up to 11, a little movie clip or a quote or something like that, that is something that I believe will help you keep choosing joy, having energy, being excited. And I feel that if we start feeding our minds with things that are going to bring back nostalgia because you do know it, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that movie, or things you've never heard of, like if you listen to rock and it's a country song that is empowering, I feel like that is going to be feeding our brains different and new things and encouraging nostalgia in a positive way. And I'm going to do that for the rest of this year. When we kick off in January, if you guys loved it, you're going to let me know and I'll keep doing it. But that's part of what I decided I was doing for the fourth quarter to help you guys keep that energy. I want to like feed the energy. If you have a song or a movie clip that you want to recommend, I want you to email it to me. It's like, oh my gosh, this song this helped me get over when that deal fell apart and I listened to it 3 times. Just send it to me. Okay. But anyway, let's just become fiercely determined. So let's jump to the next one, Erin. This is one of my favorite ones. Who knows Tony DeCello? Show of hands. Anyone know Tony? Similar to Diana Kokoska, he's been a known expert in the business of being a realtor and treating it as a business for going on 30 years. By coincidence, married to Diana Kokoska. I don't know. It's funny. Sometimes people don't realize that until I tell them. Tony was building his business in the Boulder, Colorado area. And he was already doing well. He had reached a point where he was selling between 50 and 70 houses a year. And he knew he was doing well, but he was becoming the biggest fish in the pool and or pond, and he wanted to like just really bust out. So for about 2 years, he was trying these different ways of increasing his business, and he just kept hitting he couldn't get over that ceiling. He couldn't break through. And he just had this moment of Satori where it dawned on him. He's like, wait a minute. If I'm getting 70 deals a year out of a database of 700 people and I want to double my business, why don't I double the size of my database? And guess what happened? No one is going to guess.
He doubled it.
He doubled the size of his database. And then, fun side note, he more than doubled his business in 1 year. So when he got serious about doubling the size of his database in spring, so he was working on it, and within 16 months, he had more than doubled what he was doing. So by saying this, is it anyone and everyone? No, I'm not, don't go pell-mell. Don't be like, oh, well, I'll just download all the residents of this zip code and just throw it in there. Now, by the way, that is a technique, but that is a technique that requires a lot of money. And those of you that know me pretty well, you know that I like to hold on to a dollar and make more baby dollars. Like, we want a good return on investment. I prefer, as a coach and just as a businesswoman, when you have a strategy in place when you're building and doubling your database. So I wouldn't just go pell-mell. I wouldn't go out today and say, I bought Cold Directory and I downloaded 5,000 people that are random, like complete randos. I don't think that makes sense. I do think that each of you, if we took a couple of coaching calls, we could figure out a strategic way where you could double your database. You don't want it to necessarily be, well, I'm only going to add people that I met in person that have, green eyes and they're above 5'2". You don't want it to be like so particular that it takes 10 years. None of us have, centuries to build our business. But that could be a really great measurable. And what I would encourage you to do, I'm grabbing my calculator, is let's say that you currently have a database of, give me a number. What's the size of a database out there?
2,000.
2,000? Okay, so you could look at it and you could say, okay, I want to go to 4,000 and I would like to do that in 6 months. Well, then take 2,000 and divide it by 24. 83. So you would need to think about adding 83 people per week to your database. So even that would still sound like a daunting task, but you've now chunked it down. Maybe after you do that number, you say, I don't want to do it in that short a time. What would it be in 9 months? But get intentional about how could you double your database. Now, I would try to do it in 6 months, because you do that and you start that now in the fourth quarter. Guess what will happen by the time spring market comes around? You've already been marketing to a larger database for several months. Do you think you could actually have an impact on the second quarter of next year if you started doing this now? I see some head nods. Yes. So I also want to give you one other thing to do. What we in the coaching community have found, and I already know some of you, this is not you. I know some of the people that I coach, this will not apply to you, but for many agents it does, so I'm still going to say it. There's many agents that when they identify their sphere of influence, past clients in their database, it is far less than the number of contacts in their phone. Now, some of that I know makes sense, because some of the people in our phone are other real estate agents or exes or, randoms that we don't necessarily want to market to. However, if you each looked at your phone, if you go down, if you look at how many contacts are in your phone and then say, reduce it by, I don't know, 25%, if that number is significantly higher than the group in your database marked as past clients and sphere of influence and orphans, then you can actually do a huge boost to your database just by adding those people. Doing a cross-reference on your phone to your database can give you a big boost. Then you can take the remainder and divide that by 6 months. So there's certain things you can do. You can cross-reference social media, your phone, all of your emails. You can also make sure that you have the orphan clients in your database, and your vendors. So the other thing down at the bottom, number 5, the people who like you. So people that you may know from either church or your kid, or maybe your kid's on a soccer team or in a dance class or whatever it is. Take the time to think, who else do you know? If you are in a networking group like BNI or Rotary or God, I'm having tip of the tongue syndrome. There's another big one. If you're in one of those, pretty much every member of that group should be in your database, whether you know them well or not. If they're in your database, they'll start getting your soft marketing, but they're also going to show up there, and it will remind you that you should develop that relationship further. So make sure that's in there. The one other thing I'll put in here is knowing local business owners and identifying the people in your database that own a local business. That is also huge. So, just think about local business owners and how could you add them in? Chamber of Commerce. That's what I was trying to think of. Chamber of Commerce. All right. So this would be a fun exercise for you to do. Everyone's database is different. And usually there's missing persons that would vary from person to person. One thing that I've done with several of you is if you are in a new area, you can use the dreaded LinkedIn. You can actually do searches to locally find people that went to the same college or people that were in the same sorority. So when I moved from the East Coast to California, one of the first things I did is I went in LinkedIn and I did a geographic search for everyone who had graduated or attended Old Dominion University in the 8-year span that would have been covered while I went there. So I went there for 4 years, but I did the people above me in years and the people below me, right? And I found people I'm still friends with to this day in Southern California that were also Old Dominion University graduates. I did the same. I was in Alpha Xi Delta, so I did the same thing. I found AZDs out there. I found ODU people out there. So I just wanted to throw that out in case you are feeling like, ugh, how am I going to double my database? It's already really strong. Those are some of the ways you could do that. Okay. All right, what's next? So a couple other things to do to build your database. Consider doing a quarterly reverse bold 100. There is a YouTube video on how to do a bold 100. Erin, remind me that I want to make a fresh version of that as well. The other thing is start asking conversationally, who do you need to know? Or who do you know that I should know? Sometimes that's just instead of everyone on this call knows I am not of, don't turn me into the maps police, please. But I'm not a big fan of the like, do you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate right now? Or who do you know that wants to like, so if you just conversationally and be like, you know what, Kareen, I have a really big goal and I'm looking to help 20 more families. Who do you know that I should know? Like just asking it in a more conversational manner. But you can go to your key vendors and you can go to your key referral partners and you can ask them that question. You'll be shocked, some of the answers that you'll get. Develop relationships with other salespeople, especially salespeople of high price point items. If you're not walking into I'll pick one from Betty Lou Bick Bick. If you're not walking into Jaguar Aston Martin dealer and there are not several people saying like, oh, hey, how are you? You're not connected with salespeople that are selling, and that you can have those reciprocal relationships with. Join interest groups. And if you don't find one to join, then create your own. I know that right now I'm in the stages of creating, because I loved my Mini Cooper owners group up in Sierra Nevada. There is not one here. And so I am waiting to hear back and starting a Mini Cooper group here in Scottsdale. So whatever you like. I've done a few of those with karaoke as well. So, just think about what you're already interested in and start your own interest group. And then sponsoring events. And if you do sponsor an event, remember, it's not just the people you meet at the event. The biggest relationship opportunity is with the other sponsors. That is the opportunity within the opportunity. So obviously we could go into more detail, but can you guys just see from this brief overview, is there anyone on this call that feels like, well, there's no way I could double my database? Or is everyone feeling like, oh, good Lord, yes, there's more I could do. I could meet more people.
I feel like
Yes.
yes to all of this. The one thing it's like creeping in my mind is like finding the time to do this. Like I'm thinking of my phone, scrolling through. How can I leverage that so that it's not me sitting in front of command for all day?
I'm so glad you brought that up because it usually should not be you. So the cross-referencing project, I'm going to, off the top of my head, I'm going to say if you're selling more than 40 houses a year-ish, if you're selling more than 12 high-end luxury, it shouldn't be you. It should be an assistant or a virtual assistant. And what you do is, I know that like I'm an Android person, so all of my contacts in Android are also accessible on my computer. And so the lovely Ruby can go in there and she can cross-reference who do I have in my phone list and who is missing from the database. And I highly recommend you just do one at a time. So you say to the assistant, you're going to cross-reference my phone. And they might say to you, I think that's going to take me 2 weeks. Great. You get a progress report at the 1 week mark, see if they need more time at 2 weeks. They're going to come back to you and say, like, I don't know about these people. What do you think? You're going to tell them. They're going to do the updating and then say, great. Now let's do my Yahoo account that I only use for junk mail, right? So just have them do the cross-referencing and then come back to you with questions.
Thank
Is
you.
it possible that they're going to miss some of the nuance of whatever? Yeah, but as long as they're in the database, when you go and look at them again, you'll be like, oh, they're the ones that breed greyhounds. Okay, let me add that in there. So, but does that make sense? So it shouldn't be you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's keep going. In the chat, it says, please explain our reverse bold 100. Okay, so reverse bold 100. A great reverse bold 100 concept would be, has anyone in here done one? Going once, going twice. Okay. So what you would do is, I'm going to give you the brief example. The video on YouTube goes into more detail. I'm going to give an example from a client, Steve, in Indianapolis. They had a brand new 5-star resort that was opening up in Fishers, which is right outside. It's like a high-end area right outside of Indianapolis. How many of you spend the night at a high-end 5M resort in the town where you live? No one. I don't. I did it one time in Santa Monica because they wanted locals to give reviews. But usually you don't do that, right? So he did this big thing where he said, we're giving away a weekend in the presidential suite at the new Ritz-Carlton in Fishers. You're also going to get a dining credit for the French restaurant at the resort. So he put together this giveaway. And oh, Naveen, I'll talk to you in a second, Naveen. He did a giveaway where he said, okay, everyone, if you call this number on the 21st of October between 9 and 4, you'll be entered into the drawing to win this weekend at the brand new Ritz-Carlton. So then what you do is you take several weeks and you promote it, you send it out, you've got a QR code, you put it on social media. You can do targeted or you can do broad. If you're looking to grow your database, I would make it broad. So you advertise it and then the day comes and the goal is that in that day that you designated, you will have 100 people call you instead of you calling 100 people. So you can use that to grow your database. A couple things I can tell you. So that when Steve did that, he ended up getting, a little interview with the general manager and he put that on social media. So leading up to the giveaway, he was doing stuff at the new Ritz-Carlton. He took his wife to dinner at that restaurant and then did a post about that. So you can build it up in a lot of different ways. So people get excited. I will tell you, people love money. People love experiences. I will say that oftentimes technology is a failure. If you think about it, in our society, for the most part, I'm going to use a very broad stroke here, but we kind of live in a society where if somebody wants technology, they already have it. And then the other thing is there's such a division in like, say, iPhone and i stuff and Android. The instant that I'm seeing a giveaway and I see anything, I don't enter. Because guess what? I'm a droidy. I'm not an IE, right? So I feel like technology, we get excited about it and it doesn't usually give the payoff. But things like airline flights, yeah, Pelotons, man, they were crazy for a while. So that's a technology that was really big. Big green egg grills, yeah, those things. I can't remember the name either, but the egg grills, Yeti coolers full of crap. People like that kind of stuff. Okay, so but that's what you do, and it's really fun. And the goal is that you just have 100 people call you in one day. Okay. Um, Naveen, can you share what you did with your reverse bold 100 and how that went?
Yeah, so we always have our bold in the fall. We've got ours coming up this next week. So it's always around the holiday season. And I love giving back to the community. So a couple of years ago, we were doing a toy drive in our office, Toys for Tots, and we had very little participation. So I did a reverse bold 100. I did a video on Facebook, and I said, you either have to text me or call me, and we need these toys dropped off. And I did a couple days leading up to it. On this day, message me that you'll be dropping off a toy on Wednesday and fill out the Google form. So we had over 100 participants. I think I raised about $2,500 for Toys for Tots. And then I put a recap video of us shopping and
Cool.
Buzz Lightyear is our mascot. And it created a lot of community engagement and buzz. And then I even took it further when I dropped it off at the headquarters I did another video with the Marine thanking us and all that. So it created a lot of engagement and I got
Yeah.
100 new contacts. It was great. It was great.
Supported a great event.
Yeah. it
Yeah,
was-
so I love that. Um, and it's fun. It's nice. It's one of the ways to get your phone to ring instead of you ringing everyone else's phone. Okay. In the chat it says sports events too. Yeah, one of my clients in Seattle, she and one of my clients in Atlanta. So one of my clients in Atlanta actually got I'm not good at describing this, 4 really good seats that were season ticket holders for the Falcons? Is that the right team? What's the football team in Atlanta?
Falcons.
Yes,
Okay,
so.
Falcons. Okay. So she got those and she ended up using that. She sometimes she used them just as like a special gift for great referrals. However, she also did several bold 100s. And she did the reverse bold 100s when it was some team that was like an iconic rivalry team. I don't know who the Falcons rivals are, but when that was going to be the big game, she just gave all 4 away by doing a reverse bold 100. And then a lady in Seattle did that with the Kraken, which I think the Kraken is hockey, I think.
Yes, it's
Right. Okay,
hockey
so
expansion team.
okay, there you go. So you could do that as well. If you're so inclined. Now that Falcons, those 4 tickets, that was not inexpensive. Kraken was less. Again, I'm not saying to run out and spend money. I don't want anyone leaving this call saying, I just got a private VIP box for the Giants. Don't do that. Amber, you also did a really cool event. Go ahead and jump in because I'll butcher it. That
Which one?
the sports thing you did in the fancy
Oh, yeah.
box and the whatever.
Yeah, we did. So we gave away Flyers tickets, the Philadelphia Flyers at the
Flyers. There you go.
Fargo Center. Yes, and it was very cool because we opened it to our database and people that we didn't know, and it was cool because we got to meet new people and take photos and had the build up, and it was great.
Let's take a guess. Would I ever have come up with Philadelphia Flyers if I had guessed 100 times? I'm going to guess probably no. Maybe 100 guesses, but okay. All right. So it's just getting creative with how do you get your phone to ring? There's other ways to do it. So if you're interested in that, let me know and we can develop it based on your market and your current database and what you have going on. All right, Erin, is there any other big chunk that we were going to cover today? So, yeah, I want the Diana quote. Diana, by the way, she had a God, it could make me tear up when I think about people that have really contributed to who I am today. Both Tony and Diana are a major key part of that. So, word from Diana Kokoska when you really want change. You say that you want change, you say you want growth, you say you want to break through on results, and yet you hang on to your daily habits and beliefs. What do you have to change about yourself? And what do you have to let go of to allow change to enter your life? I would even suggest taking that quote from Diana and setting aside an hour. Set a timer for an hour, put your phone on do not disturb. Who can finish what I'm going to say? Put the Doobie Brothers on and get a cup of coffee and free write reflecting specifically on that quote. And none of us are immune. This is something I've been challenging my own self. And that is an exercise that I will be doing on Friday. Because I still feel as if in some ways, and I'm not using this as an excuse, but many of us are coming out of whatever we went through with COVID, whatever we went through with the shift in the market, whatever thoughts we may have had about the NAR changes. I feel like it's a perfect opportunity for all of us to re-hone in and refocus on this quote and what do we have to change about yourself? What do you have to let go of to allow change to enter your life? I believe that is a powerful quote, and that could really lead to a great writing exercise. And then I would like to open that up here. We say discussion question. Is there anything that I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but is there anything that comes to mind right away for any of you that you would like to share? Is there something that you would like to change or let go of?
I can share.
Okay.
Mine is negative self-talk.
I would second that motion. Yeah. And one of the ways that you can do that is by having that incredible affirmation set in the morning, and really including affirmations. And I know everyone make fun, feel free. You're doing affirmations every day, whether you think you are or not. Some people hear the word affirmation and they think that it means saying something positive. That's not what it means. You are affirming whatever you're repeating in your mind or whatever you're saying to yourself. So it could be horrible things, horrible. I hate to even give the examples because I don't even like to put it out in the universe. But so if you have negative self-talk that you say about yourself every day, every time you repeat it, you're doing affirmations. You're affirming in your brain that those things are true. And how many of you have been on a call before and very innocently, I know that you're not doing it with your conscious mind, you will say something negative about yourself. You might say, oh, I did something. Oh, I'm so stupid. I'll say that as an example because I know I'm not stupid. And I've stopped you. How many of you have been on a call and I've gone like, hold on a minute. Can we back up? Could we reframe that as I have an opportunity for growth and time management and people, like I will stop you because even in that moment, I don't even want you saying it when it's a casual little thing. And sometimes coaching clients are like, well, I didn't really mean it. I was just saying it. Nah, you just I don't even want you repeating that. So one of the ways that you can stop negative self-talk is by proactively saying positive things about yourself on a regular basis through the day. And when you find yourself saying something negative about yourself, stopping it. One of the ways that I stopped this my own self, and Diana would be disappointed because she says, don't use yourself as the example, is when I found myself getting into spiral thinking or negative thinking after, say, one of my divorces, because I've got more than one. So like if that happened, I would literally do this. I would stop myself. I would clap my hand. I would go, Bridget Ann Stewart, stop it. And then I would have like 5 power statements that I would say. Change people's lives. I bring great energy. I'm hardworking. I'm tenacious. I'm driven. I laugh. I choose joy. I choose action. And then I would get into action. There is something about the sharpness, and by the way, the sting, because when you clap that hard, your hands sting. When you have physicality in it, motion and physicality can change your emotion. So when I would find myself doing that gets your attention. And then Bridget Ann Stewart, or even better, what did your parents call you when they were trying to get your attention when you were going to run in the road or you're going to walk out of the house looking like a lunatic? Use that. So, whatever your parents would have called you to stop and get your attention when you were in danger, that's a good one to use as well. And then just have power statements. And then as you noticed, I would finish it with, I'm a woman of action. What action am I taking next? And then you would do something action-based in that minute. I'm going to call 3 people that love me. And if it was business, those were usually vendors. And I would call my best vendors and say, hey, what's going on? Yep. Yeah. I needed more contacts today. That's right. Because, I'm not ending the day till I've had 20. Who do you know I should be talking to that want to buy or sell real estate? So I would get back into action. So just really consider, Julia, I'm very glad you shared that. Is there anyone else other than Julia that has some negative self-talk on occasion? I'm going to put up both hands and a foot, and I do pretty strong, mindset work. So that is the power of affirmations, is that you're displacing and replacing some of the negative self-talk with intentional and proactive positive self-talk. And it does sound weird, and it makes a great SNL skit. And I can actually do the SNL skit, and it's pretty damn funny. It still works. And if you do research on the neural path in your brain, you will see there is evidence. This is not just airy-fairy. Okay. Anyone else want to share a habit they would like to change, or something they want to let go of, or something that would allow more change to come into their life?
I
I'll
need
I think
to,
Let's go, Katie, and then Amber.
Okay, I'm really stuck in circumstances right now. So I'm from Western Carolina. I think now that everyone's kind of realizing what's going on, there's a lot of negativity. My really good friend, who is also my lender, she was my lender first, then we became good friends. I have her under contract right now, and she's like worried about terminating because she doesn't know what her business is going to do. And I think we're all just really worried about what's next. And I tried to get away today and like do some good, bought a lot of like baby formula and whatnot, just trying to keep my mind in a positive space. But it's tough. Like, I don't know what's ahead of me. And I'm trying to remind myself that I do know that I'm intelligent. I have been through a lot of change in my life and I have overcome it. And I know that I am the type of person that does whatever it takes to be successful.
Absolutely.
But I know that I'm going to be on a roller coaster of emotions, especially when I go back tomorrow. So any words of wisdom that anyone has would be appreciated.
So kind of exactly what you just said, and what I just demonstrated to you, like when I would clap my hand and then say my full name to get my subconscious attention, and then I would say power statements right in a row. 3 major power statements right in that moment. And you were on it right there. I'm strong, I'm resilient, I'm a resource for others. That, because I do, from our conversation the other day, that's how I think you want to enter back into a very devastated area. This is an interesting segue that I'm going to piggyback on. Oh, wait, even before that, have an emergency. In my mind, I call it my, in case of emergency, break glass here. I always have a theme song that is my theme song that I will listen to when I'm in an emergency situation. Currently, it's Roll with the Changes, REO Speedwagon, awesome song. And then 3 power statements. And sometimes a movie clip. So I absolutely love the Grace scene from Talladega Nights. Who's seen Talladega Nights, right? So like he's like, "Dear baby Jesus, 8 pounds 6 ounces, not even knowing a word, wrapped in your swaddling," and doing that whole thing. So I actually downloaded the clip, put it on my desktop, on my laptop, so that when I'm in a moment, I will watch that. Sometimes I'll watch it on repeat a couple of times, or I'll listen to my theme song a couple of times, and I have trained myself that will get me out of it and allow me to get present in the moment again. So consider having that emergency kit. Humor and music, vastly underrated. The last one that's remarkably underrated is scent. So particularly with what you're going back to when you go back to Asheville, I would get one of your absolute good quality favorite scent candles with a lid, because if you keep that lid closed, the scent stays in there, and you take it off and you don't even have to light the candle and it smells good. I would highly rely on that, and possibly even get a small one you could keep in your purse. So if you're in the car and you're having a moment, you can open it. But scent is very highly connected to memories and peace of mind and frame of mind. Okay. But one of the things to segue into, and we'll start to wrap up at that point. I started the call yesterday talking about what's happening with the hurricane, and I wanted to end it with that today. So, as Katie shared, we'll go back to you. Amber, I told you were going to be next. So what were you going to share, Amber?
Oh, sure. I think I've two things. Now that summer's over, I've been in school for a month and I really have to be dedicated about waking up earlier, having my morning routine, exercising, and just giving myself with a timer time to do all the things that I don't have time to once the day starts.
Yep.
My business has grown to a level where leads kind of flow in with ease and elegance, which is a blessing, but I can't let that stop me from being hungry as when I had no calls coming in. And
Mhm.
I'm just trying to train my mind to say, if I just continue to reach out to FISBOs, expires with all the wealth of knowledge that I've grown, like how much more impactful, how much bigger could my business be? So both of those things.
Excellent. And you are right. If you add rituals to the morning as well as rituals to the evening, how many of you pick out your outfit the night before? That's a huge help. Um, getting those little things like prepare for the next day the night before, that can really help too. But I did want to take a moment and I wanted to let everyone know that KW Cares is in action and they are doing everything possible to support the corridor of devastation from Hurricane Helene. And so Erin put the links there to KW Cares. If you want to, you can go right to that site. The Hurricane Helene is right on page 1. And also when you make your donation, if you put a Hurricane Helene on there, then 100% of that is going straight to the hurricane, the market centers and the agents that are dealing with what's happening with the hurricane. I wanted to share that same link. Erin, do we still have that link that I shared yesterday that shows what areas are still without power?
I don't, but I can try and look it up real quick.
Okay, if you want to look that up real quick, that would be great. If you weren't paying attention, Helene was particularly nasty, and it hit an like if you look at the map, it didn't follow a normal pattern, and then it didn't follow the pattern, and it didn't follow what typically happens after landfall with hurricanes. So this was not a run-of-the-mill hurricane, and it's one of those situations where it hit areas that do not necessarily deal with hurricanes all the time. And you guys know what that's like. I'm looking at Anthony in San Diego. When it rains in San Diego, people don't know how to drive. People from Northeast are like, what the hell is wrong with them? But it's because they don't get rain that often. Believe it or not, there's residues that get in the roads. And when the rain comes, it turns them into slicks. It's just crazy. So you never know when an area is not used to going through what it's experiencing, it just makes it worse. Are you guys seeing this screen? I don't know if I shared the right tab because I was flapping my gums while I was sharing.
Yes,
Are you all
good.
seeing the states
Yep.
impacted?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a real-time tracker. So just for you guys to see, that dark brownish red, those areas are still 100% without electricity. Asheville in particular, we talked about this yesterday as well. Asheville, their water system has been damaged. They are not, even now, last I checked, they're not able to predict when they will have potable water again. So this is pretty significant. And if you feel so inclined, help. I know that I believe we have 2 guests on here from Maui. And as you guys know, Maui is still recuperating from the fires. Oh, Katie put in the chat, 6+ weeks is the current prediction. Bonnie and Tim, you all had some assistance from KW Cares post-fire as well. I believe
Yeah,
the
we
area
sure did. It was, I'd never seen KW Cares in action before.
Mhm.
And I have to say, they really came forward with so much help for our team. And just during this call, I have something closing in a few weeks. I just told my transaction coordinator to put a $500 donation to KW Cares in this DA.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing it up. Everyone so came forward to help us here on Maui during the fires last year. And, it's just time to pay it back.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry for, everyone who's going through that, because you're right, that was a weird storm.
It was a weird storm.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of you know, but I actually grew up in Virginia, coastal Virginia, and lived on the Potomac River in Maryland. And so I have plenty of hurricane experience. It's probably one of the reasons I moved out west. I had my fill of that. But it was an interesting storm. And I'm using that word as a realtor would. So if we can keep everyone in their, thoughts, and then contribute if you're able to, or feel so inspired, that would be great. Then of course we love seeing, Maui, even though it's a year out, you guys are still rebuilding and still facing a lot of the aftermath of the devastation of those fires. And if any of you want to activate your RAS to be on alert for referrals for Maui and reach out to Bonnie and Tim, I'm sure that they would really appreciate that.
Yeah, if you or any of your clients have ever dreamed about getting real estate on Maui, like now's the time. We're seeing a net outflow. There's still a very jittery second home market. They think the whole island burned down, but it didn't. And there's some increasingly good values on Maui because it's still beautiful here. So
right. Yes, it is. It is. And then Katie, so Katie does live in Asheville, and luckily you were in Atlanta during the storm, right?
Durham, but yeah, not in the
Durham,
area.
sorry. Yeah, you were in Durham. So she wasn't right in Asheville when it hit. But she is heading back there tomorrow, and so let's all send her good thoughts that she'll be strong, and get back there and face whatever's happening in her neighborhood and her town. So I always like to end with, Erin, is there anything else key in the slides? Well, you're all going to get a copy of the slides. So if there's something in there that we didn't cover, you can just go over it and then ask me if you have questions. But I always like to end our time together with at least three people sharing something they're taking away from our time together today. So what is something that you're leaving our time today? What are you taking away with you?
I'd love to share.
Yes.
I've got this really cool thing on my desk in my office. Like you pick a different card, different quotes. And coincidentally, the one that was flipped on for today is your present circumstances don't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start.
That's great.
Nito Cuban, I'm sure I mispronounced that name, but it's so true. It's where are we starting today? So that affirmation of how we start our morning, that's the biggest takeaway, starting with strength, positivity, and a fabulous Bruce Springsteen song.
Yes, there you go. I do Bruce at karaoke sometimes. If we go to karaoke, you could request a Bruce song and I would do it. All right, let's get two more.
Well, being as though today's October 1st for 2024, I have 30 days to hit my goal. I got to get my shit together.
Yes. Yes. Kareen, I hope you all heard when I was talking about Kareen and I said, we were reviewing and refining her full court press for between now and Veterans Day. You still have time. Most of you can do that. You can still do that. So you can do massive action in the next 7 weeks, and it could actually either impact the end of this year, or it could guarantee you hit your 15% rule for January 1st. So it's a no lose scenario. Okay. That's funny. So we went from Naveen in Chicago talking about Bruce Springsteen to someone in New Jersey. Who's going to be next? Oh yeah, Bon Jovi, living on more Jersey. It's a very Jersey themed moment we're having here. Let's get one more takeaway.
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hey, everybody. So, the one thing that really stood out was about the toolkit. And one of the things that was listed was fierce determination. And,
I know the holidays are coming up, but I just would love between now and maybe like Thanksgiving to feel like I don't have to stress to get to my goal for the year. And I really want to take these next 8 weeks and just hit it as much as
Yes.
I can, so that I don't feel like I can enjoy the holidays, but feel like I've, done everything I could do to get to that point. So I really like that fierce determination.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. I want you to be like, here, I'll impress all of you. I want you to be like a star Atlanta Falcon player that feels like they left it all on the field. So you go into Thanksgiving knowing that you gave it your all. You played right through the, at last till the buzzer went off and you left all of it on the field and then just relax and enjoy your holiday. That's, we're not going to get into it right now, but that's the power of the November challenge. So those of you that don't know the November challenge, we'll go into that on the next chunk of business planning, and I'll start talking about it on your calls as well. But that way you can go into Thanksgiving knowing that you put your all into talking to the most important people to your business and really making an effort to make that happen. All right, well, this was really so fun for me. I don't know if you all can tell, but I could probably keep talking about this for hours. I am very passionate about everything we discussed. I hope that you will take the time to review it, think about what you may want to implement into your business. You all have different businesses, so you may take it in different ways. Find what was appealing to you, and let's work on making that happen for you and your business. Okay? All right. I appreciate all of you. Tim, make sure we have your email so we can send you a copy of the slides and any other guests who might be in here that I don't see on the screen. Okay. All right. Bye, guys.